What?
Welcome to a beautiful place
Oh yes.
where we can truly see Adam shine.
Welcome, man or girl. And yeah, we're just gonna keep on going from last time. Um, and we had a cool discussion that we are going to get into, which is the role of short-term relationships. And it can be in dating, it can be in business, it can be just someone you meet. We'll share our insights and experiences here. But first, I'm gonna jump in this story because on the last episode, as you remember, I challenged myself to go onto the store or the supermarket called Mercadona, because there is this thing here in Spain, which is that you can go up and you can talk. You can so you, there is this thing in Spain where you go to a supermarket called Mercadona, you bring a pineapple and you put it in your cart, and if you see another person who you're interested in with a pineapple as well, you can bump into them and you can have a conversation. And let me just remove this. Yeah, okay. So for me, that sounded very exciting and a challenge. So I was going to do it right after our podcast, pretty much. So I did, and what happened was that I got dressed. I was going down, and man, I was nervous actually because I was gonna do something I never done before, which is to go into a supermarket to put a pineapple in my cart and then look for a girl who also has a pineapple in her cart. And I'm walking, and I'm excited, I'm nervous, and when you're supposed to do something for the first time, maybe go up on a stage, or maybe you're going to go on a date, or just do something which you are not comfortable with because you haven't done it. And every step that you take, you're kind of feeling so much in your body, and every step you take closer to where you're supposed to go, everything is so alive. And this is what is happening. I'm so alive, and I'm walking in, and there's this woman that's like just saying something. I'm like, oh, like so overwhelmed with emotions, and I go in, I get a cart, and I'm like, fuck it, let's do this. I go into the fruit section, and there are no pineapples. Man, I felt relieved, and I also felt disappointed at the same time.
I was so ready for this. Nice.
So long story
So is
short,
it the end of that, or do you try again,
yeah,
or
but
what's the
long
plan
story
now?
short, I looked around. There's nothing. I actually bought a like some fresh cut pineapple from the fridge, just because like man, I came for pineapples. I'm gonna buy pineapples. But there was no pineapple, so I couldn't really do the thing. Um, so yeah, that was the story. And later I found out that they actually didn't like the Mercadona. They didn't like that thing because people would come, put pineapples in their cart, but never buy it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was
Yeah.
already thinking, like, does the pineapple consumption then go up, or like, what's the play there? But yeah, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
it's not something that people eat that often. I think.
actually, man, pineapple doesn't taste that good, in my opinion.
I really like it. That's
All right. Well,
some weird
uh,
soury stuff.
mm, yeah, I'm more into watermelon. Actually,
Mm.
if I'm gonna have some good fruit, some good tasty fruit as a dessert. And yeah, that was it, man. That was the whole story. So
Short-term relationships.
Yes. So short-term relationships, the role of short-term relationships. Hmm. When I hear short-term relationships, I think of one-night stands as the first thing that comes up. How about you? What's the first thing that comes up when you think short-term relationships?
My mind is not as perverted. Um, I was thinking more. The first thing I was thinking about is in a broader context, because the last time we spoke a lot about relationships in the more like intimate manner, like boy girl. I was thinking more about, okay, in what other ways do I have long-term relationships, but or short-term relationships? And so I'm curious to your opinion, because I've kind of already stated mine last time. It's I don't see. I just want to do long-term things with long-term people,
Mm,
and no matter whether that is, especially in business, it's horrible to do. I think like short-term stuff because it takes generally a lot of work upfront, and then the once the relationship is established, depends on the type of business, of course. But once you have a good relationship, that's the easiest thing. I get a lot of referrals from existing clients, or they get me on more of their projects, and you don't
mm,
have to do any selling. But it's just kind of more logistics matter because I already know everything works. Um, then with short term like friendly relationships, maybe there is a bit more of a thing there. But
mm,
I'm too much of a loner, so that doesn't really apply.
mm,
Um, and also, to some extent, it's of course the life we live, where we're nomads. I now live in a place where I know pretty much nobody. Met one person who works at the same coffee place as me every single day. Um, but I mean, outside of that, some friends are passing through, and that's it.
mm,
So, do I then place energy in my life that doesn't completely match my intention?
mm.
That doesn't really seem worthwhile from my perspective.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point.
but maybe there's something there. The same with like
Yeah,
any type of short term fling.
that's it, because you have this short-term moments with experiences with someone. For example, twice a week I'm working as no, yeah, twice a week I'm working as a consultant for the old job that I had, and I'm basically cold calling all day and booking meetings for my employer. And in those moments, I'm never going to have meetings with them. I'm just calling, and if we book a meeting, that's going to be it. I'm handing him over to my employer. If we don't book a meeting, then nothing happens. I'm never going to see those people again, or I don't see them, speak with them. So, what is the role of this short-term relationship, which is everything from 2 to 10 minutes? Like, what is the
Mhm.
role there? And the first thing that came to my mind was I was working yesterday, and there was a woman I was talking with, and we talked for like 6 minutes, and I didn't book a meeting with her. Um, and I don't remember if it was due to my skill or just to not being the right person, maybe a combination. But after 6 minutes, she says, thank you for calling, like in a genuine way. And it gets me thinking that this 6 minute conversation, it has a role, it has an impact on the rest of our days, if nothing else. At least the
Mhm.
next moment. Because if we had a good interaction, then this energy can be created, no, can be used for me to call another person with a more genuine vibe, because I'm more in this genuine kind of interaction
Mhm.
instead of this, pam, pam, pam kind of salesy way. And maybe she's been working on her computer all day, and now she has been talking for someone for 6 minutes. And she's like, "Oh wow, this was great," and now she does a better job. Or she's like more
Mhm.
relaxed and enjoying the rest of her day.
Interesting.
And that was just 6 minutes, and we can even take it shorter. You can have, for example, to take it to the extreme, you can have just a moment, just a second of an interaction with someone, which can impact the rest of your day. And I think we've all had this experience where you're walking down the street, you see a person, he smiles at you, he's like, "What's up?" He keeps on walking, you're like smiling too now. And now you want to give this smile to someone else. And that's a very short term
Mhm.
experience.
I love how you flipped this.
Hmm?
I love how you flipped this. Thank you for. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, it's like Jordan Peterson would ask. So, first we have to start with defining short term. What is short term? And then he
Mhm.
picks it apart. Uh, that was not an impression, by the way. I cannot do a Jordan Peterson impression. Um, but I love the way he takes something, he opens it up, and then he closes it towards the end of his talk. That's mastery, in my
Mhm.
experience. Um, and since I said the stuff about, did you have anything come up from this, by the way?
Yeah, it's a new way of looking at these moments that I do have, and maybe have not really even prioritized as much. Where, like for me right now, I am so probably because I've kind of adopted this more long term mindset, but I don't really even like. I'm friendly, obviously, to service people or like people I actually interact with, but I don't really look at anybody. I don't really say hi to anybody. I just you know do my thing, get things done, and pretty much a hermit. Even if I'm outside, like I work like 8 hours in a cafe usually, from like 7 to 3 in the afternoon. Then I go home, have some breakfast, kind of. Um, but even during that entire time, I'm cordial to the service person. That's pretty much it. And then met one person who I don't know. You do kind of. I am very shallow in the way where I make assessments very quickly based off of how someone carries himself and how their energy is, and just their general appearance. If I'm going to be wanting to speak to that person,
Mm.
and I don't even have to look at someone for me to know that. I think, like, I can kind of sense intuitively, just kind of, vaguely, not like some wide eye vision tells me enough, let's say.
Mm.
And I guess that's maybe kind of, it's a very different approach from what you're saying, essentially, because it's kind of like, hey, just what I used to do as well is like spread the love, like be high vibration, kind of be a channel of a high frequency in that way, and just to whomever. And I'm not sure what the balance is there.
Mm. Yeah, the balance is a good word, because I think the right ways for you might not be the right way for me, and not even that. Like the right way for you now might not be right for you in a year or in a month,
Mhm.
because you might find something which is feeling better for you or
It's
aligning
also the
more.
seasons what we were speaking about last time, right? It's kind of like maybe now is not the season for this, but in another
Yeah,
season it would be like kind of bring your entire city to the highest vibration possible.
yeah, because you're in a different part of the world. You guys are now going towards winter now, while we are going towards summer. Isn't it like that?
No, it's gonna be pretty hot here soon, and dry
Ah,
season is about to start. So it's pretty
ah,
much it is actually very much a season here, um, in terms of the weather to definitely socialize and everything.
yeah.
It's yeah, just for me, I have so much work coming in and like so many projects and stuff, which is great. Um, but obviously, it's also not great in the sense of I no longer have time for morning routines or anything. I literally, probably the past 2 weeks, I must have literally worked like 16, not 16, but like 14, 15-hour days back to back.
Mm,
And then had like one day off. And off means, work 4 hours.
yeah.
So different season.
Mm, I see. And that balance is going how for you? Is it okay or is it too much?
It's definitely pushing. I think my eyes look pretty dead. So there is something there where I should
Yeah.
probably get some more rest. I'm
Mm,
definitely very taking doubled my caffeine and my nicotine and my modafinil. Not doubled my modafinil, but still on that. Which, if you're not a geeky biohacker, it's like a narcolepsy drug, so it keeps you awake, but it's also used as like performance enhancing in the same way as caffeine or nicotine.
I see. I
Yeah,
see.
and I mean nicotine in Zyn, so like pouches. So
Mm, I see. So it's a, you are in a season where you're pushing hard and you are kind of going at your edge in that sense and
mhm,
maybe not
it's paying
expecting.
off.
Yeah, okay, that's
So that's
good.
good.
That's good. Um, so there's also no shame in using any substances to keep you going when that's right for you. And then other times, maybe like myself, I don't use anything. I barely drink even tea, man.
Nice.
um, and it's not something I'm proud
Once
of.
upon a time, I was the same way. That's very commendable for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I just enjoy myself much more like this, and I find that I found a balance now, which I didn't have before. So this is interesting. So I was boxing today, and there is the saying that if you are treating boxing good, then boxing is gonna treat you good. And I'm finding that when I'm boxing and I'm really trying to improve, then I'm also seeing these parallels with life because of say two things. One thing is the balance of being able to not be too forward, because if you're too forward with boxing, then you're gonna be hit. You know,
Mhm.
if you're too
Yeah.
back, then you're not gonna be able to hit,
Mhm.
and that goes way in life as well. Because if you're too forward, for example, I'm cold calling or I'm talking. If I'm too forward, then it's kind of pushy. If I'm too back, then you have less opportunities. So it's kind of a balance, and I think this goes well into these short-term relationships too, because you um, you can have too much spreading love just all around. Then you come home, you're like, man, I'm exhausted. But you can also, I think, be too much. Fuck everyone, just me, myself, and
Mhm.
I. And then you feel alienated from everything. You go out, you're like, ugh, kind of a feeling. You cannot cold approach someone because you don't feel
Mhm.
like there's a connection. So I think
Yeah.
there's a balance there as well. Um, and
Interesting. I do
yeah,
feel though like when I push this hard, I don't, because you kind of you reach this level in the same, for the gym. If you completely go 100% on a workout, like truly like, really push it.
yeah,
Um, I think there is something that happens where you are so disconnected from your thoughts that it does make a lot of these things like cold approaching and such easier. And
yeah.
obviously there's still some balance there that has to be maintained. But
Mm,
I do really feel like, okay, because I'm pushing so hard in the business and stuff, I feel like I'm getting all of these wins because of doing that. I kind of just have that assurance, which maybe even needing that in the first place is a whole other right issue that like
mm,
that probably shouldn't even exist, right? Because it should just be a state of being where anything and everything is possible at any given moment.
I get what you say, and I totally agree that when you've been pushing, for example, even just sitting in your computer working 6, 7 hours, you're like, okay, I have 10 minutes, I'm gonna go to the store. You go to the store, like you're like, should I approach this? Is she hot enough? Yes. Okay, I have a minute, and you go up, and you're so assertive because you're so confident because you trust yourself so much. You're gonna do the stuff that you said.
Yeah.
But like you say, this can also be something that you can rely too much on, you know? So it's kind of this balance there as well.
Yeah,
'Cause
needing that layer added.
yeah, because then what do you do if you're just taking a day off? You have no like momentum. You just sit there. You're like, what do I do now?
Yeah,
So
for
I've
sure. Then you can't even really take. At least for me, I wouldn't be able to take the time off because I wouldn't feel deserving of that. That's another construct on one hand, right? But it's at the same
yeah,
time, it's like it's a difficult thing. I need to send you this this ChatGPT prompt that a friend of mine sent me. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is it basically, if you use GPT a lot, it obviously stores a whole lot of memory around who you are and like your worldview and everything. When I use GPT at least, in 10 different chats, and probably in those chats there's also at least like, probably like 50 different times a day at least, like minimum. And so GPT knows everything about me. And
yeah,
so there's this prompts you could then ask. There was this beautifully built of, hey, what are all of my darkest like deepest fears, and like, and broken down in like layer to layer to layer to layer.
yeah.
And it was just accurate to a complete T.
Wow.
And the reason why I'm mentioning is because it's very relevant to this topic. My deepest fears, according to GPT, which I would agree with, is that I'm not even sure how the mall exactly worded it, but something along the lines of, hey, if I stop, then I'm going to be left behind. That was kind of the gist. If I don't do, as long as I keep going, then I'm going to be fine. But the moment I stop, I'm going to like lose everything.
Wow. Man, when you say that, it makes sense because where you are right now, from my point of view, it's you're pushing 15 hours a day. You're taking these enhancement substances to keep you going for the full 15 hours, and it makes like it's like yeah. And then what came up for me was the moments I feel. Actually, this is probably a good reason why we are taking productive being, like these two parts together, and we are the ones hosting it, is that I find myself to be the most valuable, most worthy, and the most aligned when I literally just sit and I do nothing. And I have like, oh, I should do this, and I don't do it. And I kind of let go of the action. I can just sit. It's difficult as well because I also feel the urge to always push and do something. But it's the moment where I'm able to sit through that and do nothing for whatever time. Then I feel like I have the most to give. Then I feel like, yeah, I'm valuable, I'm worthy. This person is gonna love me. Or like want this. This is something that I can give. Now I can come from this place. So it's interesting because from my understanding, you feel like when you're pushing the most, that's when you can provide the most. That's when you can like, yes, I got the value and I experience it too. But when I actually don't do it, I'm able to connect with that just being, then I feel like I have the most value to give, actually.
Oh, for sure. It's even, yeah, like if I take even 5 minutes to meditate before a session like this, like it really brings it to a different level. And I feel like even us kind of having to set this better studio setup and like, making all these preparations, it allows us to calm down a bit more than just jumping
Mm.
straight into it. Where there's definitely, yeah, you're definitely right.
Mm.
And maybe it's cool that you're more on the other end and I'm a bit more on
Yeah,
the Silicon Valley without
yeah.
the millions in funding yet.
There,
But
there is a universal rule, which is that there's no good and bad. Well, there is good and bad, but it's a part of the same coin.
Mhm.
It's there is like it's the same, uh, and this is an interesting place. And how can we link this back, like JP does, into short-term relationships? Ah, I have an idea. It's to let them be exactly as they are without trying to change them. So what I mean is that maybe in this moment, the woman that I was talking with on the phone, maybe she needed a little bit of interaction that day. And maybe I need a little bit of genuine conversation with someone to calm down this salesy, pushing.
Mm.
And then we can find a balance, and from here we can go. So we found this
It's kind of mutually beneficial, symbiotic relationship in a brief period of time, kind of.
yes, exactly. And this
That's
can
beautiful.
also be in one night stands too. But yeah, so I think that's a good
Perfect.
ending to
Yeah.
the episode. Um, Thank you for watching. Um,
Thank you.
and
And thank
we're
you,
gonna
Adam.
mention this now. So if you subscribe, you're gonna be the 10th if you have not already. So uh, yeah,
It's a big milestone to be the 10th
it is.
subscriber.
It is. It is. It can be. It can be too. You never know. So
Maybe we'll never reach it.
maybe it's gonna be awesome. All right. Thank you for watching.
Cheers. So I'm really curious if so it down. Ah, okay, yours is kind of slow. For some reason, I have twice as much